Okay, so I should be able to be seen. That's better. Got a false start there. Welcome to my studio for this final stretch of this particular painting that I've been working on now for about 5 weeks on and off. I mean, bad backs and internet connections and all that sort of thing. All that's coped with. We've done that. I'll show you the picture. Let's see the picture. Overhead. There we go. As you can see, most of this area is now complete. This is the area I'm going to be working on. It's time to do Lulu, which is quite exciting. And the little area that surrounds Lulu. Once that's complete, once Lulu is actually finished and this area is finished, it'll just be a matter of looking over everything and just pulling things together and just making sure that everything fits together properly, not forgetting to put in this beautiful post here, which is sort of going to be the last thing I do, really. So as you can see, if you were watching the other day, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different now than it was. Oh yeah, because when you left it the other day, all this was just sort of lightly sketched in pencil. Let's put it that way. And so yesterday I actually worked on this area, on the stones down here and on the background and on Lulu herself. But I didn't stream it, and I didn't stream it specifically because it would have been very boring. Basically, the drawing of Lulu in place there was quite loose. It doesn't matter too much if the drawing of melons and fruit and things are a bit loose. But it does matter if the drawing of a VW camper or any other vehicle is loose. Because vehicles aren't loose, are they? They're made by machines. They're made in factories. They are stamped by these giant machines and then all welded together so that you get nice, smooth, sleek lines. And so yesterday I spent 3.5 hours redrawing Lulu here, tightening up the original drawing that was there, and then going over with masking fluid in areas that, let me see if let's go to the overhead close up, there we go. Redrawing here, the whole thing, and then masking fluid being put into, there we go, into different areas. There's masking fluid here and here, saving out the the indicator lights as just the same as down here. There's masking fluid around the grill here, and I've already taken the time to draw in the dark lines here for the actual gaps in the grill, the holes in the grill, and I've then gone round with the pigment pens, the very fine lining pigment pens that I use, and I put in the very darkest areas of the van. That way we keep that sharpness. Now, I didn't used to do this. When I first started doing Volkswagens, it seemed to me that everything had to be painted with watercolour, everything had to be done with the brush, blah, blah, blah. And I'd spend ages doing it, but there were certain things that to me felt a little bit too loose. Things that needed tightening up. Certain things like, it's not really much of a feature on this one because this has hubcaps on that are really quite faint on this picture. But a lot of the vehicles that I do have alloy wheels. And doing alloy wheels with just a brush just didn't work as well as when I started using the pigment pen and drawing in the holes in the alloy wheels and everything with the pigment pen. And then we get the nice tight shiny look of the alloy wheels. So I tend to do this with Volkswagens especially, and with cars and especially, is to go around and get the sharpness in and get the dark areas sussed out. Once they're in, it's just a matter of looking and seeing what we need. Look, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do finish off the outlying areas. Then you're going to see me do the windows and the inside of the vehicle, leaving this till last really, leaving the actual paintwork till last. And then we're almost done except for putting in this pole and putting in just the finishing touches. So let's have a look what we're going to do. First and foremost, let's go for the ground. I've got my tablet here that I'm just zooming out a little bit because I've got it zoomed in on the van. There we go. And right, so what I need now is a sort of yellowy sort of... Now, to be honest, it all depends on the screen that you're watching it on. I did notice yesterday, because yesterday I was working on with my computer monitor as the main screen, and the computer monitor does make this area slightly peachier in tone than the tablet does. I've mentioned this before, I've mentioned it over and over again, you must be getting sick of hearing me say it, but everything that you see on your screen is going to be slightly different from everything that I see on my screen and on all the different screens, and it will be slightly different from what is actual in reality down here. What is actually in reality down here, that's the main thing. That's the thing that I'm concentrating on. And when Danny gets this picture sent to him all the way to Georgia, you know, across the Atlantic Ocean, and he opens it up, he's going to find that, I think everybody does, everybody opens it up and goes, oh my goodness, you can see it's a painting, and it's a lovely painting. Well, that's what I hope anyway. So let's put in a wash for this area, and I'm going to go first with a very, 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 very light, and I haven't used it much in the pictures, just a little bit occasionally, but a very, very light yellow ochre. Just put into the centre of this palette that I'm using here, that is still very, very, there we go, you can see it there, it's still got all the paint on from all the rest of the painting, and I didn't clean it before I put the yellow ochre in the middle. There was a little bit of a sort of brownish shade in there, and the fact that I'm working on it like this still keeps all the tones of the painting aligned, sort of thing. It creates a harmony within the tones of the painting. So let's have a little look and see. Where's my trusty piece of kitchen roll? Good morning, Alvaro Offie on Twitch. Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Thank you very much for coming on my stream to advertise your um, your business or whatever it is you're doing. Um, I would like to say that you're not welcome. So if you would like to take that off before I take it off, and just go away because you're not welcome. What? I mean, how bloody rude is it? How rude is it to come on my stream to advertise your work? Honestly, yeah, to advertise. Would you like it if I came on your site and said, "Oh, buy my paintings"? No, you wouldn't. Now go away. See if I can get rid of this. There you go. Add to block list. Now go away. Honestly. If there's anybody real out there that would like to chat, I am only too happy to talk to you. But I am afraid I have very little tolerance for bad manners. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is bad manners. Yeah, we all have to advertise what we do, don't we? But that's just bloody cheeky. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Now, as I'm taking it off, you will notice that it's coming off a little bit blotchy. That is deliberate. That's one of the great things about working on textured paper and then blotting out with kitchen roll, because kitchen roll has all these little blotchy texture holes in it, doesn't it? And the ground is not even. There we go. It is blotchy and uneven. So the fact that that's it. There we go. The fact that there's occasional. You will notice as well, actually, that I am going over the whole area, even though there is a strong shadow under that car. But don't forget that that shadow is on top of the ground. So let's put the ground in, and then in a moment or two, when we put the shadow on, we'll put the shadow on top of the ground. There we go. Comme ça. Same goes over here. Let's go over here as well. That's it. Now the stones that I did yesterday, we don't need to worry about them too much, as long as we go right up to the edges, because they don't have the same sort of tone to them. They've got that grey thing going for them. Now then, let's put in, with a touch of the yellow added to it, let's put in this grassy area here. Let's just lay the foundations for that. So light yellow first, and it does encroach slightly onto the edges of the stony area. let's go a little deeper in greenness. Just mixing together a little bit of sap green with brightening it up with a touch of transparent yellow. As I've said before, if anybody wants to say hello, you're only too welcome, as long as you're not doing one like that last Burke did, trying to advertise his what is probably basically some kind of bleeding con anyway. Oh, I can get you lots of followers. Oh, yeah, give me money, I'll get you lots of followers. Yeah, right. Maybe you can. Maybe you have a... What's that? Strange noise. Maybe you do have a sort of data farm of some kind over in China or in India or wherever you are that would indeed get me lots of followers, but they wouldn't be followers that give a damn about what I'm doing. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, Facebook will do that. If I go onto Facebook and give them loads of money, they'll increase the number of followers that I've got, but will they be followers that care about painting, or will they just be general anybody's? Because in general, that's what my experience has been with anything like that. I tried doing the Facebook thing with, oh, give us some money and you can be promoted and all this sort of thing. Well, thank you very much. I'll promote myself because I give you money and it makes no difference whatsoever. The only thing that actually makes a difference to my actual sort of situation is people who are interested in painting, or people who are interested in Volkswagens, or people who are that sort of person, which is, thankfully, those people are out there, and I'm sure that if you're watching, you're probably one of them, which is very nice, and I'm very grateful for you being here. But honestly, I don't know. Tell you, there are these things really get. I'm gonna have a little bit of a moan. Excuse me while I just have a little bit of a moan here, because I don't know whether you you might not be a content creator. You might be just somebody who consumes it, and that's great. Thank you very much, because we really depend on you. You're our lifeblood. But there are proper content creators, and there are proper people out there who are interested in what you're doing and interested in really sort of, maybe promoting your work or whatever and that sort of thing. But there are so many people out there now, all over the country, all over the globe, who are just basically out to leech money out of you for absolutely nothing at all. And it's so easy, if you're not careful, to fall into their traps. Luckily, most of the time I can spot them. One of the biggies on Facebook, and it has been for a while, and it's getting more and more blatant, which I think is strange, but it is. It's definitely getting more blatant. One of the big things on Facebook is I get lots of friend requests. People like to follow what I do, and I am grateful for everybody that wants to follow my work, and it's so nice to actually have people doing that. To know that people are actually, that I'm not just doing this for my own pleasure. I'm doing it, because people like it. But so I get lots of friend requests, but regularly, a few times a week, I will get a friend request come in, and I know straight away because you get these little pictures down the bottom, and there'll be a little picture of the person, and they will invariably be a very beautiful young lady. And this beautiful young lady will be there, and she'll be doing something with her hair in this picture or whatever. And you go and have a look, and you think, well, maybe a beautiful young lady does want to follow my art. That's fine. That's great. If you are a beautiful young lady, you are welcome to follow my art. But invariably, if I accept that friend request, within seconds, Messenger will open up, and they'll go, hi, hello, how are you? And I say, okay. And the next thing, the talk changes again and becomes, it's very obvious that this person probably isn't even a female, never mind a beautiful young female. You have a look at her profile, and everybody on it is what looks like what they hope to be a gullible middle-aged man who desperately wants to talk to a young lady. And then she tries to get money out of you, which is basically what it's all about. It is a scam. She's not there. She's probably some hairy bloke in Bangalore or somewhere. But so I block them straight away. I report them to Facebook, and sometimes they get taken down. Sometimes Facebook says, "Oh no, we couldn't say anything wrong," and I think, "Okay, you must be blind." But one of the ones, what's happening now, is that I get the same sort of thing. Beautiful young lady wanting to be my friend on Facebook because I don't know why. And then you open up the request, and it doesn't even it doesn't even pretend to be anything other than what it is, because what the next thing is, oh, they won't let me post my nude pictures on Facebook, but if you go to WhatsApp, you can see my nude paper. And you think, all right, block, report. You just get fed up of it. And my wife says to me, well, it must be something to do with you, because I never get things like that. Yeah, but they're not looking at you and thinking you're a desperate middle-aged bloke, are they? So that's one of the things that irritates me. Steamer's having a moaning session while he paints. That's alright. But the other thing is, like that guy did a few minutes ago, here I am doing this on my channel. Next thing, an advert for his bogus channel pops up on my feed. And I say, how damn rude. Anyway, he's gone now, blocked him. But the other thing that really gets my goat when it comes to this same sort of thing is on Instagram. On Instagram, and I only found this out recently because I've had Instagram for years, but I've not really used it properly, and I've not really sort of invested a lot of time in it. But on Instagram, when you're an artist, as soon as you post a picture, a painting of any kind whatsoever, and you put in the hashtags, excuse me, and you put in the hashtags of anything to do with painting or whatever, within, literally seconds. I think the last one happened day before yesterday when I did it. Within 11 seconds of me posting it, I mean, this has got to be a bot. It says, oh, promote this on, oh, I love your picture, love your art, promote it on, and then it'll give an address to DM, to direct message. And I had no idea about this at first. I thought, well, that's very nice of you that you want to, that you set up a site that I can promote my work on and put my work on. But as soon as if you reply to that direct message, what happens within seconds is that they're back to you. Their English is broken. It's obvious that it's not their first language. The spelling's atrocious, and they're saying, "Oh yes, you can promote on my special feed that for only $5 or $10 or whatever, you can be promoted on my feed, and you'll get so many more followers, and you'll get." And then you have a look what's on their feed, and you think, "Do I really want to be on that feed? No, I don't. Do I want to give you money? No, I don't." Anyway, let's concentrate on this painting. It's enough of being irritated. Anyway, okay, let's have a little bit of a doobly-doo in the background here. That's it. But the whole internet seems to be just full of, at the moment, of scammers trying to rip you off. And I dread making a mistake and falling foul of one of them, because I would feel so stupid. Because I sort of do keep up with that sort of world. I watch quite a lot of scam baiting videos and things on YouTube, so I do sort of recognise most of the scams when they're thrown at me, which they are regularly, either by phone or on online. There we go. We're getting a little bit more of a texture coming through. That's what I'm doing at the moment. It's called dry brushing. The brush is slightly damp, but not very. And I'm using the side of the brush to just touch the textured surface of the paper, so that my brush is just hitting the top. There we go. That's it. My brush is just hitting the top of the texture, and because of that, it creates this textured finish, which, when this is dry, will leave a nice texture on the ground. It's probably a little bit more than there is there, but it will dry lighter. And as far as the painting goes, I think it will actually look nice on the painting, and that, in the end, is what matters. Right, let's get let's work on the bottom. Oh no, hold on. I've just missed a little bit in the background here, which delineates the top of the bus, and that's these background trees, because the top of the bus here is one of the lightest things on the painting, so that is going to be left as plain paper. So we can't paint it in, we have to paint where it isn't. And that's sort of one of the things I was talking about the other day, when I was talking about people who are trying to learn about painting, who want to get good at art, and get rid of what they're doing, and sort of advice, really. And that is, yes, learn techniques, definitely learn techniques, but spend more time than anything practicing looking and seeing. You look, you see, you make decisions, and you decide how you want to do it, and you do it your way. Your style comes out of what you do. But it all starts with practicing, learning how to look. You have to learn to see things differently than the average person. Because most of us, most of the time, don't really see things properly. We just glance at we get things in our field of vision, but we are concentrating on something else, or we are we're looking at sort of an overall thing, but not necessarily at what we see. And to be honest, the same goes a lot of the time for paintings. I don't know whether you have been to a gallery, a civic gallery, say, or a national collection recently. But one of the things I noticed when I started to go to galleries a lot, I don't go often enough at the moment, but when I started to go to galleries a lot, I got very interested in looking at not just at the paintings. That's fascinating. I love looking at paintings, and I can sit in front of a painting that I like, that speaks to me, for an hour, 2 hours, with no problem whatsoever. And I sit there and soak it in and take it all in, think what the artist was trying to portray, and but if you watch the crowds of people going around a civic gallery or a national collection, one of the things you're going to notice is the amount of time that they actually spend looking at the paintings that are in front of them. Because most of them, you can say, if they give it 30 seconds, that's a lot. It's like, oh yes, I've seen that one, oh, I've seen that one, yes, I've seen that one. The only time they don't, quite often, you can tell the artists, because the artists stay in front of the painting for ages, and they go right up like I do. My nose touches the canvas almost. I'm looking to see the way the painter's applied and what the painters and how the brush just hit the surface of the paper and all that sort of thing. But the majority of people just pass by quickly, and that's it. And the only time they don't is when they have somebody with them, whether it's a friend that's showing them round. Quite often the friend thinks they know absolutely everything about everything. And or they're having a guided tour. And then they're having someone telling them what the painting is about, or who the painting is of, or who painted the painting. A little bit of history. But at all that time, quite often, they're watching the person, and they're listening to the story rather than actually looking at the painting. And I think It's a shame, really, but that's the way it is. But it's also the way that things are in the world. You will find that people in general don't look closely and don't look in the same way that an artist does, and that is what you've got to try and achieve. Right, I am now going in with the darks in the tyres, which are being done with a combination of Payne's Grey and neutral tint, which creates a black, but it's a black that is, every black's got a colour to it. I mean, nearly every black has a colour to it, and this will have a sort of greyish, bluish tint to it. And I'm putting it on fairly strong. Because there's a strong light here. But as that dries, you will be, and you just can now still see the dark lines that I put on there below there, which I did with the pen, the pigment pen, and so that shows through as the treads on the tyres. Here we go. Let's make sure that we're even darker here. This one's quite solid. Can't really see the tread on the tyre on this back one. Set that a bit up there. Now underneath here you can see some of the workings of the car underneath. Now I put a little bit of masking fluid on there, which I mustn't forget to take off. Sometimes when you paint a dark area over masking fluid, you do end up with this situation where you forget. You can forget easily because it is there, but I've painted over it. And it's there because underneath in that dark, it will still be very dark in the end, but underneath in that dark area, there is a little bit of a, I don't know what it is. It might be the toe loop, or it might be just a bit of the undercarriage of the car in some way. But there's a little highlight there, and I wanted to preserve that. I like that. So that's got them on. Now we're going to lighten this up, and we're going to add more Payne's Grey to it, the neutral tint, because we want it to go bluer. But we don't want it to be incredibly dark. We want it to be translucent, and that should probably be okay. Yeah, that's quite nice. That's quite nice. Yeah. One of the great things about having a stretched large sheet here with the picture drawn out in the middle is that I get all these bits around the edge where it's stapled, and I just test the watercolours on there. You can't see it, it's off your screen, but that's what I'm doing. I make the pigment and then I'm testing it on there. So I'm going now for the shadow under the car. taking care to that's it. Now I'm going to put it on, then I'm going to blot it, and then I'm going to put some more on so that it's a gradual build up. And I'm doing that because even though it's quite a sharp line around it, because it's quite a good strong shadow, that shadow fades at the edge into less. So I want to create those tones. And this is a good way of doing it. Now let's just soften that line with a brush that I have, that's it, washed, but then I've taken the water off it. There we go. And that way we get the that's it, that's probably right. I want to go a little bit darker in this bit here. So just put another bit in while it's wet and let it run into it. That's it. Now similar method for the front here. If anybody's watching and wants to say hello, please feel free to say hello. I would love you to chat to me in the chat box. It keeps me company while I'm painting. Now we're going to do the same thing here that we did on the other one. We'll put it on, then we'll blot it and take it off. Well, it's still wet. You can't blot it very well when it's dry, so you make sure you blot it while it's still wet. And this is where you want the undercolour to come through. The shadow's there and it is quite defined, so you want that definition. Right, let's now blot that. Yep, that's nice. There we go, that's cool. That's cool. Oh, we seem to have a little bit of masking fluid underneath there. I'll have to take that off when it's dry. That's from when I was doing this. It's a little bit of stray masking fluid that's made its way across. I want a little bit of texture in this front bit. Because there is the road underneath it. But that's quite decent. And it's nice and dark underneath. But you can still make out the extra dark of the undercarriage. Now I'm going to go over this tyre as well so that it all blends in. That's it. This tyre has some shadow going across there. But I want to soften that. Soften the edge of it with again, I'll dampen the brush and I'm just keeping wiping it in between applications on the piece of kitchen roll that is permanently in my left hand here. Because I want a line to come out from under this tyre, but I don't want it to be too sharp. That's it. It's interesting actually, when I look at the screen, the camera is picking this up very differently from reality. I think the setting, I don't know whether it's the contrast setting on, but I don't know whether it's the contrast setting on my screen or the contrast setting on the cameras that's doing it. So it might look totally different, it might look absolutely fine on your monitor, just like it looks down here. It's much softer down here than it is up on the screen there. There is a much more gradual and softer distinction between these marks and these areas here than there is on the screen up there. So that's interesting to note, but that's fine. What matters is what's here. What's on the paper is what matters. So let's just let that settle for a minute. I think I've got everything covered in that background, but I want that to dry now before I start working around it, because I don't want to smudge it with my hand and have to do it again. Because what's next, is, yeah, well, I'll do it at the same time, is there's the side of the tyres and the windows and the inside of the van. The essential packet of biscuits, a bit of sustenance. Oh, I've missed a bit on the floor there, I just noticed. Another area of shadow down here. I'm not sure what it's from. It might just be a patch of tarmac. It's hard to tell. But it's in a greyer shade. It's not so blue. So and it has got some holes in it in the shadow. So I have, I don't know whether you noticed, once I put the ground colour down here, I actually, when it had dried, I applied just a little blob or two of masking fluid just to save out those holes. I don't want it to be too dark, so I'll put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. Somebody commented the other day on this method that I use the two-handed method of putting it on and taking it off, and I I said, yes, it's the Mr. Miyagi method, which well, it amused me. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And when I say go and watch Karate Kid, I mean go watch the original Karate Kid, because that's the one to watch. Nothing against the Will Smith and Jaden Smith one, which was alright, but they don't do the same thing in there. They don't do wax on, wax off in the second film, which is a bit of a shame. It's all to do with coat on, coat off, or something like that in the second film. Fair enough. Oh, what's this? I have messages. Nothing important. Nope, nothing important. Okay, so that's coming. Do you want to have a look at the whole thing again for a second? Let's go back to the full picture. You can see now that the ground is more or less in, and the background is more or less in. We are now literally ready to put Lulu in and finish the whole thing off. So always like to save the starter until last. Let's say top of the bill. There's Lulu. There we go. Remember, if anybody wants to say hello, please pop in and say hello. As long as you are a real person and not that bot that came on earlier on. I'm happy to talk to real people. I like real people. They're nice. Right. Starting at the back of the bus and working forward. Even though it's tempting to go in the windscreen first, I don't want to have to drag my hand back across what would be white paint. Okay. Now the windows are always going to be shades of grey, because it's the nature of the shadows inside the cars, as shown by, that's the way it reflects. The reflections lighten everything up, but there's still dark things inside, so things inside become shades of grey. And when I say grey, I don't necessarily mean mixture of black and white. I don't know whether you've cottoned onto that yet, but when I say grey, I'm talking about hues is it hues or tones? I can never remember to be. Basically, the pictures, the paints that I use, I'm using a very limited palette. There's probably about 7 colours, I think, maybe 8 on the whole painting. That's nice. But then they are mixed together with each other, and they're mixed together with paints that I know perform a particular function. I will knock back a lot of bright colours. As that, that's a phrase that I like to use, knocking it back, which basically means I'm toning it down. I'm toning down the actual colour by adding maybe a touch of Payne's grey or a touch of burnt umber or whatever to that colour. And by doing that, the colour becomes greyed. It greys down, which is what we want in these windows. That's what we want all over the painting, actually. The whole painting's like that. So I never worry too much from most of the painting about the colour of the water, because unless I'm painting, I shall change the water and I shall clean off an area of the palette when I come down to doing the paintwork. That sort of what I call toothpaste green of the car, of the van, because that paint needs to be bright and clear and not have anything in it. But all these other areas around here, and all the brickwork and the shadowy areas under the canopy, which actually are more shadowy on the actual painting than they are on your screen. The screens do, well, on my screen anyway. My screen sort of does things to it. But let's cool. So if the water is, as other people might describe, looking dirty, then I'm not too worried about that, because it helps to keep the colours from getting too bright, because unless you're in a toy shop, most colours aren't that bright. Okay, in a supermarket things are bright because they use lighting that will make everything bright and make the products bright, and they lay out the products on the shelves, and every one of those products is designed in such a way as to catch your eye and stand out from the other products around it. That's cool. But bit really dark here. Let's go in with that. But in real life, most colours are muted with the occasional little bit that zings out. And so while they're doing that sort of part of the painting, the fact that each colour's got a little bit of all the other colours in it helps the whole thing to sort of hang together. Yep, looking good. Go in here with this part, which is actually quite dark. But then pales as it moves over, so we can, that's it, smudge it down. There's a light of it in there, and I put a little bit of masking fluid in just to protect it. We'll sort that out when we take that masking fluid off. Oh, by the way, here's a little bit of a recommendation for anyone of you if you haven't seen it yet. If you like something that's not necessarily that spooky, but is sort of got a good tension and adventure to it, you can do far worse than Lock and Key on Netflix. We watched the first series last year during lockdown, and we really liked it. And last night we just finished. I mean, when I say we finished, we were up till goodness knows what time because we couldn't stop watching. We ended up binge watching it, the second series of Lock and Key. And oh my goodness gracious me, it's brilliant. Absolutely loved it. So if you wanted a bit of a recommendation for something good on Netflix, go and watch Lock and Key. Sort of paranormally, supernaturally adventure sort of thing. It's with a real twist, based on some graphic novel, a series of graphic novels, I think, that somebody did, which actually, I mean, the graphic novels look as if they're actually quite harrowing, a lot of it. There's a lot more violence in the graphic novels than in the series, I'll tell you that. But no, absolutely loved it, and there is season 3 coming as well, so that's a cracker. But you will get a nice resolution of some kind at the end of season 2, which is really good. I hate it when they just leave you with a one huge cliffhanger, and that's it, because there's another series coming, you know. It needs to be blued slightly. Sort of, that's about the right sort of tone, I think. Yeah, that's it. This next one is similar sort of tone, but a little bit lighter. Underneath here, I have got a little bit of masking fluid there to protect out the two highlights that are just inside the cabin there. Just change brushes for a second. There's a line across here which has a darker little bit there on the inside. Little things like that, you'd be surprised how much difference just adding that little bit of a line then that with a little darker bit at the end of it there. It looks much more realistic when there's more than one tone there. Beware of, thinking, oh, that's green or that's brown or whatever, because you will usually find that there are mixtures of tones on these things, and if you don't get those mixtures of tones in there, you don't get shape. You want tones to give you shape. And, to give you realism, you need variety in your tones. Like that for a minute. Put a little bit of dark in there in a minute. Not forgetting to do that. Let's dull down the things that's in the middle here. It's interesting, isn't it, that by drawing the windows and the inside of the van, we really start to define the van itself. Right. Let's make sure we don't miss the sides of the tyres, which we want to be greyer than bluey. So we want to go with neutral tints rather than Payne's grey, I think, really. Touch of Payne's maybe. Just yeah, it's probably best. Because of course the tyres aren't white walls. They're ordinary tyres, but I just want to, you've got to make sure that you can show the the highlight on the tyre, because yes, it's all dark, but the bit underneath that touches the road is usually going to be quite a bit darker than the sidewall of the tyre. You see, having added a blob of masking fluid to the side of the to where the inner, what's it, the rim is, where the wheel rim is and the hubcap is, protecting those with masking fluids meant that it's a lot easier to actually paint in the side of the tyre. This is now dry under here, so before I go any further, I'm going to take off that little bit there because I don't want to forget it. And that bit of masking that's got stuck on there, that can come off. There is actually, fortunately, quite a little bit of a, don't know whether it's oil spill mark or whatever, on the ground there. So we can cover that bit with that. And then this underneath, let's go for the grey colour again and just pop it in there. Now, you might think it's disappeared, but it hasn't. It's still there. I mean, you can see it here on the painting. You might not see it as clearly on your monitor. If you're watching on the phone, you probably won't see it at all. But on the painting, it's there and it's clear to see. Okay, so where were we? So we come across here, we come down. I'm going to put the dark of the lock in. That's it. And we come to the next window forward. See why these things take time, can't you? I think I am guilty occasionally of totally underestimating the amount of time that I'm going to spend on something. And this painting is very much one of those things. I looked at the photograph when Danny sent me this photograph, and I looked, and there was just something inside me that had to paint it. Um, and I was going to paint it whatever, but it is nobody. No, it's very hard to make a living painting paintings like this because they take so much time that I could perhaps paint one, maybe two, if my back hadn't gone. I can maybe paint one or two paintings like this a month. Now, if we say that the average wage in this country, which they say is around about 26 to 30,000 pounds a year, you can quickly work out how much to make a living, to make a proper living, I would have to charge for a painting like this. The fact of the matter is, I haven't charged that for this particular painting because this one came out of me saying, well, whether you want to buy it or not, I am going to paint that picture because I just love it. And so there we go. This wants to be even darker in here. Let's just add some paint to it. There you go. Well, it's very quiet in the old chat room this morning. Nobody seems to be in the mood for talking. It's a shame. Right. I am some light. Bluey grey. Perfect. Pardon me. Let's just say that pricing art is one of the most difficult parts of painting for a living, or at least attempting to paint for a living, because when it comes down to it, art's worth how much you can get for it. That's the case. That's why auctions exist of sort of all master paintings and contemporary paintings too, and everything, you know. But they're basically working on the premise that at an auction you will get the price, you'll get the market price, you'll get the price that people are willing to pay for the painting. And so when you're actually trying to sell work of your own, it basically ends up being a tale of how much can you actually get for your work. And that depends on so many factors that you have not a huge amount of control over sometimes. It's very easy when you're doing this to actually miss the wing, whereas by accident, and I don't want to do that. Just on the side windows and the inside. I'm going to stretch my legs for a minute and come back to that front window. And once I've got that front window in place, we are almost there. Just the main paintwork to put on, and the wheel trims, and then we just then this post, and then we just titivating, so to speak. So I'm just going to have a little stretch my legs. Let me just that's better. I'm just going to stretch my legs. I shall be back very shortly. Don't go away. Right, I am sorry there for leaving you audioless for quite some time. About half an hour there. I was just listening to something, and I thought, well, I don't want to broadcast what I'm listening to, just in case there's some copyright thing or anything that caused my video to be taken down, which I don't want at all. So I hope you don't mind me just muting for a little while. You were able to still see me putting the paint on. I've got to a stage now, I think, where we're ready really to start putting the paint on for the bodywork. So I think it's time to call it a session on that one, and hopefully, what time is it? Hopefully later on today or maybe tonight, I will get time to come back in and actually put on the paintwork and finish off Lulu herself. There isn't actually a huge amount to do on her now, to be honest, because the paintwork is big wash stuff. Most of the details done. There will of course be, once the masking comes off, there'll be some touching up to do, and then will be the headlights to do, which is always like a nice finishing off thing. It's a bit like, I don't know whether you're familiar with the concept of the Chinese dragon dance that they do at Chinese New Year, but I believe that the last thing that they do when they bring the dragon to life and come out to do the dragon dance is to paint the two dots on the dragon's eyes, which brings the dragon to life. And I always feel that as I do the headlights on a car or van, that's my equivalent. That's my equivalent of bringing the whole thing to life. So we'll do that later on. We've got the wheels to do as well, and any little bits where we've got I think there's a bit under there actually that we can take off. Yeah, that's it. Funny, the little bits like that make all the difference in the world. It's like these ones here. These can come off now. There we go. Well, it was only a matter of time before that happened. It's been balanced there all morning, and literally it's been balanced. So let's balance it there for just another moment. Slightest little shake and it falls off. I need a bit of blue tack behind that one, I think, just to keep it in place. So there we go. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, I've reversed the whole picture around. Get up there. Oh, let's tilt it a little bit. This is very amateurish, isn't it? It's just not on. Stay there. Right. It's a little bit low now, but there we go. That's the way it exists at the minute. At least the camera stayed in place for 99% of what we were doing there, or more. Let's have a little look at the full picture. There it is. That's where we're at the moment. We can now clearly see the van in the picture. If it was a white van, that would almost be it, but it's not. So a little bit of a break. Get some a late lunch, and be back later on to finish it off. Put the paintwork on and do the last little bits. Thanks very much if you're stuck with me. I hope you've got something out of it. It's been a bit of a strange stream this morning, but there we go. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again later.